offensive line. We were playing Syracuse this week, and as we talked about in practice, they play with four down linemen, okay, and four linebackers. And today we're going to talk about the blitz packages, okay? So this is their defensive end, this is their defensive tackle, this is their defensive tackle, and then this is their defensive end. Sometimes he's down to 3 point, sometimes he likes to stand at a 2 point, okay? We talked about that they like to blitz the A gap and the B gap, and this is what that looks like, okay? All right. So we have one, two, three, four, five, six guys who are coming. Okay, so this is what that looks like. You see how they creep up pre-snap? So this is where we make our inside and U calls, okay? All right. So remember, guard, you are going to block this defensive tackle. The guard right here is going to block this linebacker. This tackle is going to slide over and block this defensive tackle. And this guard is going to block this linebacker. And then this, well, this is actually a tight end. Okay. We don't actually play with the tight end, but okay. So we're going to let these defensive ends run free in this situation. Okay. So here it is again. Okay. All right. So one thing I want you to notice is that the linebackers, when they blitz, they will walk up to the line. Okay. And so even if you don't have time to make your calls, you can still make your adjustments, okay? So right here, for example, this is a tight end, so we're just going to ignore him. Okay, so without the blitzing linebackers, the guard would block this defensive tackle, the tackle would block this defensive end. There's actually a guard and a defensive tackle. There's a guard right here, I mean. The guard would block this defensive tackle, and the tackle would block this defensive end, and the center would help on this defensive tackle. Okay? If you don't have time to make your inside and U calls, that's okay. We all know who we're supposed to block. Okay. So as soon as they come up into these gaps, okay, we know that we're just going to block inside out. Okay. So this guard is going to block this defensive tackle. This guard is going to block this linebacker in the A gap. So our A gaps are always going to be blocked by our guards. And that means, okay, because the tackle, you have to have your head up. You have to see this linebacker. You're no longer going to block this defensive end. You're going to slide over and pick up this defensive tackle. The same thing here. Okay. This tackle, you are going to slide over and pick up this linebacker. All right. Okay, let's take another look. Okay, so right here, you're going to see we have defensive end, defensive tackle. There's a defensive tackle right here, and here's our defensive end. And look, the linebackers are walking up to the A and B gaps. Okay, so again, if we follow our inside out rules, this guard is going to block this defensive tackle. This tackle is going to block this linebacker, and this defensive end is going to run free. This guard is going to block this linebacker in the A gap. This tackle is going to block this defensive tackle, and we're going to let this defensive end run free. And our center is going to pick whoever is most dangerous and help block one of these guys. Okay. Okay. So remember, guys, we always block guards. Your first priority is to block the A gap. Okay. Guards, if you block the A gap, that means the tackles have to slide over and block the B gaps. Make your inside and U calls, but if not, if you don't have time, because there's not enough time before the snap, tackles, if you see a linebacker creep up to the line of scrimmage, you know that you're going to have to block someone different potentially if the guard shifts over, okay? So hopefully we can communicate pre-snap, but even if we can't communicate pre-snap, you should all correctly block. Okay, so in this situation, they have a defensive end, a defensive tackle, and a defensive end. And now this linebacker is in this A gap and he's going to blitz this A gap. Okay, so ideally, we make an inside call here with a UU. Okay, so our center and our guard are going to block this linebacker. Our tackle is going to slide over and block this defensive tackle. and then this defensive end is going to run free. On the other side, it's all normal, okay? This guard is going to block this defensive tackle, and this tackle is going to block this defensive end. Okay, take a look at number 8. Okay, we have defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive tackle, defensive end. Okay, now this one, they don't have a tight end. So they have tackle, guard, center, guard, tackle. This is exactly how we line up a lot of the times. Okay. Okay, and we see this linebacker is right here in this A gap. He's going to blitz. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so right when the linebacker comes here, okay, we're either going to make our inside U calls, okay, or even if we don't make the call, we know who to block. Okay. This guard is going to block this linebacker in the A gap. This guard is going to, or this guard is going to block this defensive tackle in the A gap. Okay. So the guard, center, and guard are going to block this defensive tackle and this linebacker. That leaves the tackle. You have to slide over and pick up this defensive tackle. Okay. Now out here, 2, 3. This tackle doesn't have to slide over because there's no one in the B gap, so this tackle is still going to block this defensive end. Makes sense? Okay. Let's just show a couple more so you guys get it. Okay. So you can see from this view, okay, I see 2 linebackers creeping in. Okay. So we have defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive tackle, defensive end, and I see a double blitz by the linebackers. So this is an inside U call. This guard is going to pick up this defensive tackle. This tackle is going to pick up this linebacker. This guard is going to pick up this linebacker, and this tackle is going to pick up this defensive tackle. Okay, so the defensive ends, we're going to let them run free. We're going to stop the main threat, which is our A and B gaps. Okay, and our center is either going to slide over probably to the linebacker side. Okay. Okay, let's watch one more. There it goes. So you see how this linebacker crept up? So they're blitzing one. Defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker, defensive tackle, defensive end. Okay. So we make our inside call. This guard is going to block this linebacker. This tackle is going to block this defensive tackle. This guard is going to block this defensive tackle. And this tackle is just going to block this defensive end. This defensive end is going to run free. All right. All right. I'll just give you one more. It's from a bird's eye view, so you guys can see what's going on there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is a bird's eye view. Okay. So we see defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive end. And now we see this linebacker is walking up into this B gap. Okay. He walks up and he's just going to blitz. Okay. So remember, okay, if that happens, okay, right now, inside, you. Okay. So this is the center. So the guard is going to block this defensive tackle, and the tackle is going to block this linebacker. This guard is going to block this defensive tackle, and this tackle is going to block this defensive end. And in this situation, the center would combo block with the closest defensive tackle, which is this guy. Okay, let's take a look here. Defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive tackle, defensive end. And there's that blitzing linebacker. He walks up into the B gap. So we make our inside U calls. Okay. We know he's blitzing because he walked up. Okay. So remember, as of right now, okay, the center and the guard are going to block this defensive tackle in the one tech. Our tackle is going to block this defensive end in the five tech. Our guard is going to block this defensive tackle in the three tech. And our defense or our tackle is going to block this defensive end in a nine tech. As soon as this linebacker comes up, we make our inside calls. Okay. The guard is now blocking, or the guard and the center are going to continue to block this one tech at the defensive tackle. But now this tackle is going to move over and block this linebacker, and this defensive end is going to run free. Okay, let's do just two more. Okay, so we have defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive tackle, defensive end. Oh, and here they're coming with that double blitz. Okay, you see these guys walking up, and there they go. They double blitz. Okay, all right, so let's take a look. So as of right now, let's say that we were running dagger right. Okay, dagger right. What would we do? This tackle would block this defensive end. This guard would block this defensive tackle. The center would combo block this defensive tackle. We would get this guard would block this defensive tackle, and this tackle would block this defensive end. Okay. Now they come in inside, 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 you. Okay. Now this guard is still gonna combo block with the center on this defensive tackle, but this tackle is now gonna block this linebacker, and we're going to leave this man unblocked. On the backside, the guard is going to block his A gap, which is right here. He's going to block this linebacker. And then the tackle is going to step up and block this defensive tackle, and we're leaving this defensive end unblocked. Okay, let's do a final one. Then we're done. Okay, we have defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive end, or defensive tackle, defensive end. And they're just probably just going to blitz. I'm seeing this guy. Oh, they're going to double blitz. Okay, so they're going to double blitz this A gap and B gap. So we make our inside and U calls. Okay, and that's it, guys. Okay, so remember, we win with technique. We play fast. We play strong. We play violent. Okay, we win with technique, boys. If we have superior technique, then we're going to control the line of scrimmage. Remember, this week I want you focusing on your feet and your hands. All right, good luck.